What's up, everyone? Today, I'm going to be running you through how I'm going to teach a non-technical person how to build an AI skill, particularly a Claude skill, in 20 minutes. So if you're using Claude or ChatGPT to run any part of your company, you've probably already noticed the same problem. Every morning you log in and you're still repeating the same boring instructions and still telling it how to write something when you should really just be giving it the same file or implementing the Claude skill, and you start from zero every time. Now, that's not how a real assistant works, and your Claude should remember the exact same instructions that you've given your assistant the first time it happened. So think of it like you're hiring a brand new employee, and every single morning you're training them from scratch by lunchtime, and that wastes a lot of time. You really should just be training them once, and they should be remembering how and the way you want things to happen every single time. So to briefly explain what a skill is, essentially it's a small text file, a .md file that lives inside of Claude. And when you ask Claude to do something, it has a skill for it. So it loads that file and follows the instructions in that markdown file every time before it even begins to try and implement the thing that you've asked for. Now, you don't have to remember to use it, and you don't even have to copy and paste anything. It just shows up and implements it right into the chat. Now, that analogy that makes this click is kind of like a recipe card that's sitting in a chef's drawer, and the chef doesn't read it every single time. They pull the right one when the order comes in, and Claude works in the exact same way. So what goes into a skill file is the trigger, so when Claude should use it, the instructions that you actually want it to follow, like in plain English, and the rules that you want it to avoid, the tone of voice you want it to use, and what output that you want. That's it. There's no code. It's just a plain English file, and you want to try and give it as many examples of what success looks like. So this is the example that I've used for myself personally running my own B2B agency because we send a lot of emails. So when someone replies with a template, I've had a list of templates inside of a Google Doc file, and I've added that into the .md file that I've given to Claude to create a skill around it. So now it knows which reply based on the ones that I've given it. And now it also adds a Calendly link right at the very bottom. So I literally don't even have to touch anything, and I'll show you guys how that works in a minute. So the new way is to literally screenshot the reply, whether it's in SmartLead or Calendly, to drop it into Claude and queue the right skill. And it just drops the link and gives you the full response in like 10 seconds. The whole skill is just written in pure English instructions. And here are the templates. So it's just which one to use, the Calendly link, the tone, and I never have to really ever prompt it again. I just copy and paste it, and it gives me a couple of options to choose from. So here's how to build your own skill. For a quick everyday skill, just use the skill creator that's built into Claude automatically. Just toggle it on in the settings, type out what you want in plain English, and Claude will write the file for you. Now, you'll always have something working in under 5 minutes, but it's best for things that you do every day, like even just writing normal emails in terms of like a tone of voice. And for a skill that you will rely on every day, use the process interviewer skill. Now, that's an external skill that you can like paste in the GitHub link in the repo, but it basically catches edge cases that you wouldn't have thought of, and it forces you to be specific about how to actually work. Now, this one takes a little bit longer to set up. It can take anywhere from like 30 all the way to 45 minutes, but it's worth it for the long run. Now, a tip that will save you: before you trigger the skills creator, write down 4 to 5 bullet points of context and that exact phrase you would say to trigger it. So, or like 2 to 3 common situations where you would use it. Now, the output you want is key to paste and to give Claude as much success criteria as you can possibly think of, so that it has like a large knowledge base to replicate from, basically. Now, the 5 skills that are worth installing are these. So the skill creator, which is already built in, I've also put the GitHub link for all of these, so you guys can just copy and paste them. The doc will be in the description of this video. But essentially, you just have to toggle it on in the settings tab, and from there, it'll work. The next one is the humanizer skill. So it strips all the AI elements from any text that Claude generates, and you can run it on emails, captions, documents, anything with your name under it, basically. And you just paste that link into Claude and it will install it for you. The third is the prompt master. So it basically takes whatever you brain dumped from Claude and rewrites it into a properly well-structured prompt before Claude actually answers it. The fourth one is a fact checker, because AI tends to hallucinate and make stuff up a lot. So if you're posting content, sending proposals, or putting your name on anything that Claude wrote, this skill basically checks that against the web before you hit publish. And the last one that I found that was sick, it was a cool repository. It's called Find Skills, and essentially it has a whole bunch of skills at this URL, which has 91,000 plus community built skills. So you can just go through and find whichever one is currently giving you a lot of trouble, and there should be a skill for it. Now, a warning to this is that most skills that are published by random people can be dodgy. So stick to ones that have been published by legitimate corporations like Stripe, Vercel, Anthropic, and Figma. So treat them like browser extensions and be really picky. And if you go to this GitHub link here, that has a good list of curated skills if you guys are curious. So where I would start is not like install everything. Write down 3 to 5 things that you do every single day or every single week that bore you and try and automate them. So whether it's responding to emails, whether it's writing up a Calendly or a calendar link, whether it's creating a daily briefing, stuff like that is the easiest to automate first. And cleaning up whatever documents you have is another example of some stuff to automate. So pick one of those tasks first and then open Claude, toggle on that skill creator, and then spend the next 10 to 20 minutes building it. Use it for a couple of days to see how it goes. And by the end of the week, if you keep fine tuning it, it should be as good as the next one. So we're going to go and pop over to Claude now and actually show you how I use them personally, my company, and then we're going to create one together as well. So the way you trigger skills is by hitting the backslash on your keyboard next to shift and essentially brings up all of the different skills that you've already added to your account. So the MCP builder and some of the other ones is what Claude's already added by default, but the Smart Lead reply writer is the one I created personally. So essentially, I will open a Smart Lead email and I will paste in a reply and I'll literally just paste the screenshot in. I won't even write anything in the prompt. And this is how seamless this prompt is if you actually make the MD file solid. So you just paste in a screenshot and then you just hit run and then it will generate a reply based on the templates that I've given it. And it will also sub in the Calendly link at the very bottom at the end. So all I have to do is copy and paste that into my Smart Lead and hit send. Should only take about 5 to 20 seconds. So I chose this example specifically because I only gave it positive reply templates inside of this skill. So now it's having to think a little bit and it's followed the same structure. So it's addressed the concern. It's also pasted the Calendly link that I've given it straight in there. And so all I have to do is copy and paste that and paste it into my Smart Lead. So it's like 20 seconds, as opposed to having to try and manually pick the template and rewrite it every single time. So if we go into the settings very briefly and we go into capabilities, scroll down to customize, this is where all your skills live. And so if you look at where I created my skill, I've given it the link and I've given it all of basically the structure I want it. So it's going to give me variant A, variant B, variant C if it's needed. And I basically pasted all of the replies that I want inside of it. So let's go and create a skill together. It should be on by default, but just double check in case. So I want you to create a Claude skill for me that answers my emails in my tone of voice. And the other good thing to do is to get Claude to write these as well, because Claude speaks Claude's language better than anyone else. So literally just speak to it in plain English first, how you want the skill to go. And then from there, it will begin to create a skill. Actually, guys, do you have anything that you want a skill around? This might be cool.
Yeah, emails are great. So if it could do like any email that comes in,
Hmm.
that would be amazing, just so I don't have to use the brain power
Hmm. Okay,
to do
cool.
that.
Like in your tone of voice, like for a personal email.
Yeah.
Maria, did you have something?
Yeah, probably adding the humanizer in this too, and just
Hmm.
making it sound very human. Add a couple of templates in there, make it super personalized, and have it automatically reply to an email.
Okay, cool. And also use the when this in conjunction with. So let's go through some of these Smart Lead. I'll paste a couple of screenshots in so it can get some examples of.
Absolutely. It's super nice how you can also put another skill into your personal skill.
Like combine them together.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll just go two for now, but if we were actually building this out properly, I would try and find as many examples as possible, particularly if you can link your Gmail as an MCP inside of Claude, it can go and search and find more examples. I'll just say at the end, let me know if you have any questions or unsure of anything. Just because it can hallucinate at times, so it's always best to put that final line in there. So if it's in doubt, it will, or it should clarify with you.
Can you also show how to grab the NPC from the Gmail?
Yeah, sure. Good question. Um, well, that's running. We'll open up another tab of Claude. Essentially, if you come down to your customize template, you've got skills, which is what we're adding now, and then connectors is all the apps that natively connects within Claude. So I've connected my Calendly, all these apps here, basically. So you just come up to the plus button, you just click Browse Connectors, and Claude's got a whole bunch of different ones here. Gmail's obviously one of the most popular ones, so you just click Connect, which is what would be here, and it just takes you to an OAuth page, and you just log in with your account, and it's literally done in like 2 clicks. Very seamless and easy to connect. And then you can obviously add custom connectors. Like if there's an app that you want to connect to that doesn't have a native one, you can add a custom connector and just paste the URL in here. And just like that, it will be added. But all of the main ones that you should be using, like Stripe, Vercel, Notion, Miro, they all have native Claude connectors. So it should be like a 2-click process to connect them all. Now, it's already come back with a couple of questions, which is great. It's saying, is this for all email replies? So this is a good question. So it's saying, is it already drafted by the other Smartly reply skill, which a lot of it is, but it's also asking is should it handle cold outreach drafts as well? So we'll write for number one, yes, use both. And then for number two, it's saying multiple contexts. So we do want it to specify each time the different context because it will be slightly different. Like if you have a work email versus a personal email to a family member, there will be a slight difference. So we'll say, yes, make note of the distinction in different styles. Then number three is templates. So it wants a couple more. But for the purpose of just creating a skill right now, we'll skip this and get it to go off of what it already knows about us and about our writing style. And so this is a cool thing as well, like Marita, what you were saying before, it can call the skill as the final pass once it's already generated. So for three, we'll say for now, just skip. For cue the skill at the very end.
Do you know if there's a limit to how many skills you can call out on a personal skill?
You can call out as many as you need.
Nice.
The sign off logic will um, doesn't matter which one in particular. Now, if you have a particular preference, you can obviously say use this one, but any one of those is fine. Use the one. I'll just say use the one that is most appropriate given the context of the email, whether it's personal or a more professional email. And the final thing for 6 is when you invoke the skill, Milan, in particular for you, if you're writing an email, would you want different variants, like options to choose from, or would you just want one reply directly?
I would probably say to cut out the process of like elimination, just one reply directly.
Okay, cool. In terms of triggering the skill, we'll just say anytime there is an email screenshot pasted with something like reply to this. So that should be all the clarifying questions that it needs. So now it's going to go and reference that humanizer skill that we want to use as the final layer. And it's also going to go ahead and create that skill based on the conversations and the examples we gave it. Now, obviously, I only gave it what, like 2 examples, 3 examples. But if you were doing this for real and trying to build out a proper in-depth skill, you should be giving it at least 20 examples because as much success criteria as it has, the better it's going to be able to replicate the desired result that you guys want.
Love that. As far as like when you add a connector,
Mhm.
so let's say I connected my Gmail,
Yep.
do I need to give it any screenshots? Or does it just go in my email and kind of like reference any email that sounds similar to like other ones? And does it kind of learn by itself, or do you have to teach it this way specifically with certain scenarios?
Good question. When you're creating a skill specifically, I would still give it examples just so it's like painfully clear. Because sometimes,
Mm,
like with an MCP, it can just go wild and sort of have a mind of its own. Whereas if you're
mm,
pasting specific emails or screenshots, then it's like absolutely clear about what you want.
gotcha. And then once it figures out a reply, does it prompt you each time, or does it kind of reply on its own, or can you teach it to reply on its own?
Yeah, good question. If it's in something like this, like in a chat, you will have the option like to click like open in Gmail and it will just open it in a new tab and then you can send it. So I don't think it'll do it automatically. Even in a chat, I don't think there's a way to do it. If you actually, this is something else I'll show you. Good question. That was. Now, there is another separate side. So you know how when you get an API key via Anthropic, you have to go to a different portal altogether because it's not using your subscription.
Mm,
This is basically the console. So essentially, you can create managed agents in here, which will go into more in depth in the next video about actually creating agents. But this is another way you can do something similar like this. So it lives on the Anthropic server. The annoying part is you do have to pay for like an API usage. But the good part is this is more of the autonomous agent. So once you set it up once and you link it to the Gmail account of your choice, like it can function as a support agent and just it's kind of like Zapier where it can just reply directly or N8N. So this is kind of like a cool bridge between the two of them. I don't know
nice.
though about having it reply automatically. I've never tested that, but that's something that would be good to do. But I don't think it actually can do that. It might be able to do it in Claude Code, but I don't think it can do it based on just this like chat interface. Okay, so let's just go through the full skill basically. So this is the first draft of the write-up, but essentially it's just said to use the pre-existing skill as well as the other information it's got. And it's given a couple of examples about like different tone, like warm business, formal personal, friendly personal, like it's sort of differentiated between the 3 variants. And it's got some of its own rules as well about how to format and everything. Now, obviously, actually, this is something good that I always add on my skills because it uses American English most of the time. So I will make it use Australian English. So I don't want any Z's in like humanize. I want an S. Um, so I'll get it to update that. Um, and then in terms of like specific scenarios, like it has all these different variants about following up, accepting a meeting, declining something. Um, and also it's got some stuff as well, like any dead giveaways about AI usage, like it's telling it to get rid of M dashes, any sort of filler openings that make it a dead giveaway. But it also will use that humanizer skill at the very end to come over the top and just double check everything, which I actually can't see it in here. So I will also reprompt that to put at the very end. So we'll close that for now. But essentially, that is how you create a Claude skill. If you give it examples about what you're hoping to achieve, and obviously there will be different scenarios because you'll probably reply to personal emails as well as business emails. Um, the cool part is though, you can actually call the skill when you're in Claude Code. So if you're creating an automation or creating an application, you can actually queue these skills because they're just .md files. So in your code project, there will be a Claude folder and there'll be all these different .md files that you have. You can just copy them across. It's saying on this. Okay, so it's going to double check, but do you guys have any other final questions? That's essentially how you can create a skill. And then every time you just click backslash on your keyboard and you queue the skill. If you haven't specified the language that you want, like we did, anytime there's a screenshot with reply to this, it'll queue this. But if it doesn't do that, you can just click backslash and just select the one you want to use.
Yeah, a couple questions for me. What is a .md file? What does that even mean?
Yeah, good question. It stands for Markdown file. So essentially, I made a TikTok about this the other day, actually, but essentially a Markdown file, you can put like all the info from like a PDF into a Markdown file and it saves like a whole bunch of token usage. Like I think a PDF in Claude is 3,000 tokens, which is a lot. Where if you just copy all that content like from a Google Doc and you click download as a Markdown file, which should be the very bottom one, Claude gets all the same information, but for like a fraction of the token usage. Because as your token usage starts to like pile up and max out, the quality of responses gets worse and worse, basically, the longer your chat gets. So if you can minimize the amount of tokens you're using, the better your output's going to be.
Sure. Thanks for that. And then as far as the skill goes, um, so like let's say I build out the skill and it looks good. I just go in and like I screenshot whatever reply I got in this scenario, and it would give me the best reply back.
Yeah, literally.
Okay.
Um, Now that it's done that, actually, we'll use I'll show you the smart lead skill like with a positive reply that I got from a campaign. It was just this one. It literally said, um, "Hi Dominic, let's have a quick chat tomorrow." So they were definitely interested. So I'll just cue the skill just to make double sure that it's actually going to use that. And I'll just say reply to this, and it'll go through all the reply templates um, that we've given it on that URL, and it'll search through which one's the most appropriate, and it will draw up 3 different versions with my Calendly link inside of that. It should take about, yeah, it's done. So you can pick Therian C wasn't needed, but literally, I don't know if you can see that, but it was just that. So um, not much
Nice.
on the email at all, but yeah, that was like 10 seconds. So
Nice.
definitely a time
Would
saver.
would this be
Sorry.
better for like very like for example, like if I were to use this, would it be faster in some ways where I'm like, oh, okay, I already know my link or whatever. Like how would I you can cut this out. Never mind. I forgot what I was gonna ask. You can cut this one out, this part out.
Okay,
Peace.
no, it's all good. But yeah, sometimes like if you know how to reply to something manually, it is sometimes just faster to type it. But particularly when you're getting so many of these like responses, it's just easier to screenshot it when you're doing like 50 other things and chuck it into a Claude window that already knows the style and the templates that or the variants that you use, and it can just produce something that you know that's going to be good.
Yep, that was my question. Thank you so much.
Of course. Ray, did you have any questions?
Yeah, I think it's all clear. I think everybody would benefit from, especially the cold email folks using Smart Lead to know how to get these responses because they're juggling so much of the material in the beginning. I would like to see another video where you explain to all of the cold email folks of how to automate this process I know you're a wizard at that, so yeah, I'll guess I'll be in the next video too.
Okay, good thing you said that. Because I'm actually coding an app right now that will do all of that in terms of like scraping the leads, uh, filtering and cleaning company names and stuff like that, and then starting the campaign manually. But the reply, did you say the reply part of it would be cool?
Yeah, yeah, especially in the beginning, just the not even in the beginning, probably a little bit later when you're juggling so many replies and actually doing all the work, having something to reply automatically and making sure the humanizer is on, and a couple other skills like reading PDFs, docs, and making sure that's automated would be something cool that you can show and I know you can do.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll do that in the next couple of videos time.
Absolutely. But this is important. It's important to know the skills. It's important to know how to build the skills. If you're into cold email, if you're just getting started with Claude and just diving into anything that has the Claude name in there, it's nice to know the basics. So just yeah, tune in for the next video, I guess, with me too.
Yes, the next video we'll be talking about Claude agents, which is sort of the next step up from this. So we'll be looking at, like we mentioned earlier, with the Claude platform in particular, where we're actually going to build like manage agents so we can just run on the cloud. And we'll also look at stuff inside of Claude Code manually as well. So thanks for
Nice.
watching, everyone. If there's no final questions, we'll wrap up the video.
Yeah, no final questions. Thanks to everyone for watching, and we'll see you again.
Milan, do you have any final questions?
Nope, none for me. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks so much for
Yeah.
watching, everyone. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any new videos, and we'll see you in the next one.